Okay, I do have two veteran journalists, broadcasters, TV personalities, radio personalities, country personalities, continental personalities, world personalities, Pan-Africa, everything. Just to tell me of your experiences, Princess, and can you introduce your friend?
This is my very, very dear friend, colleague, my brother of many, many years, Mr. Bola.
When did you start knowing her?
Oh,
been decades.
About 4 decades?
4 decades, 1970s?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what you did during your career.
Well, I started out basically as an announcer, presenter, worked my way up into newscasting.
Wow.
And some elements of production.
Yeah, and what is it that really made a mark during the time you were doing your work? What would be like your legacy?
My legacy? I don't think I've come that far yet. I still think I have a lot to go, but
He's been very modest. He's actually been, and I think that's part of our training. You know, the greats trained us. You know, the Dr. Christopher Collades, the Onobulus, Kuliola Sokwe's, you know, Julie Cokers, the Mike Nahuros, the Kenan Daguba.
The list is endless.
The list is endless, you know. So they trained us, and we were trained in what we call the language laboratory.
Oh, okay. What's that?
That is where you train to speak
properly.
How properly? Can you?
So you can pronounce names, words properly.
We've been accused of speaking English better than the Queen.
Yes, we have been. You know why? Because we had the same standard as the BBC.
Yeah.
So we even had BBC people come into Nigeria to train and work with us, and vice versa. And something that a lot of people don't understand, or maybe don't know, is that Nigeria was 5th in the world of media and television. The first was America. The second was Britain, as it was called then. The third was Germany. The fourth was Australia. And guess who number 5 was? Nigeria. And that was in 1958.
Okay, now let's I can say you are the veterans. What is it that you've seen has changed drastically? Drastically, dramatically, and deadly. About media.
How long have we got?
That's the question. How long have we got?
Pour it out. I'm a communications person, so I want to hear the story.
Well, sadly, broadcasting has gone to the dogs. I can't put it more aptly. They say the young shall grow, but the present crop of broadcasters are not growing in the proper way they should. And as far as I'm concerned, they don't want to learn.
Can I add to that, my brother?
Yeah.
I believe also, because you and I were having a chat earlier, and I believe it's the mirror of the society. It's a mirror of how Nigeria has become. So at that time when we were broadcasters and everything was wonderful and hunky-dory, the country wasn't in the state that it is now. If you catch my drift, the country was, better run. People in leadership were accessible.
Yes.
We could let them know if they went wrong. In fact, that was a time people used to resign if they felt, they'd done...
Or if media pounces on them.
Not only media, people. We had programs called Vox Pop, where you take your camera out and you talk to people on the streets. So they say what they feel about the government and leadership.
Now let's talk about technology. How was your technology by then compared to even me? You can see I'm now filming the filmers.
Our technology was excellent.
That's one thing that has improved.
The technology. Did you used to struggle quite a lot with the manual kind of thing?
No way.
Tapes and...
No way. We were the same
VCR
as the BBC.
Nigeria
was at par with the BBC. As I said, we had BBC officials who came to Nigeria to train with us.
In Nigeria, because you were ahead of us, I come from Southern Africa, of independence. How did you come to cover some of the events that were going on?
In Southern Africa?
Yes, colonialism, apartheid, everything.
If I remember very vividly, we used to have invitations by the governments of those countries, obviously. So we had to be invited. We went through a lot of scrutiny. Your securities were tight. And eventually we were able to, but we're told where to go, where not to go, what not to report,
Definitely.
who to talk to, who not to talk to. So,
How did you feel about that kind of censorship?
it was okay with us because we were also under military rule.
So we were kind of used to that.
We were used to that kind of thing anyway.
Now, let me go back to you. What's your best program or interview that you ever had that you want to talk about for life? Do you have a book? Did you write a book about?
No, I haven't written any book. I basically didn't go out on the streets. I didn't do interviews. I was more in the studios.
Yeah.
But people came, you had guests that came to the studios.
Well, I think the last one was the late MKO.
Ah, I knew that.
OGTV.
What's that? Tell us.
The gentleman who was supposed to have won the first democratically, the best election we had in Nigeria in what was that again?
1980 something.
Oh, so that was supposed to be your interview?
Yes.
Okay.
He,
Did you have it with him?
Yes, at the station.
Wow. And Princess, what's your best?
Oh, wow. Should I do cartwheels? Should I jump up and down? The one and only Honorable Olufela Oludotun Olusegun Anikulapo Kuti. Everybody knows him as Fela Kuti. I interviewed him when I was 21. I was the first female to ever interview him in the world. So
Wow.
I'm very proud of that.
Yes, yes.
And he's a legend, as we know.
Oh,
Musical
okay.
legend. He was a social commentator. He was always wanting to fight the cause of the undertrodden, the poor. Of course, he was a political activist. You heard that in his songs. But he was also a father, he was a friend, he was a brother, and he was one of the most fun guys I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah. Let me take you to contemporary issues currently. There is this whole issue of abduction of young girls in Nigeria. How is the... I heard from one of the videos going on that, journalists are not there in northern Nigeria. What do you think? Has there been enough coverage by Nigerian journalists themselves or African journalists across the country?
Well, to start with, let's talk about the whole concept of the abduction. It is one of the most sickening things I've ever had to think about or to experience in my life. Not a personal experience. We all have female relatives, siblings, daughters, mothers. I can't imagine that to even my worst enemy. It's the trauma of this kind of thing. But that aside, it's only now that everybody's waking up. Because when you live in a country like Nigeria, sometimes you become hardened, complacent and hardened. And sometimes like some things are like nightmares, bad nightmares. But like I said, it's only now that people seem to be waking up. People in the government have not been doing as much as we think they should have been doing.
Why do you think it took so long for the story to come out? Would it have been the same if you were a journalist by then? Could you have picked it up much earlier and blown out the whole issue?
Whether we like it or not, we cannot move away from, the problem of corruption. Corruption permeates everywhere. So, journalists could be paid not to cover a story. There's also the issue of oppression, whereby people will be banned, from covering such stories, or else their lives will be, in danger.
The lives of their families.
I agree, Nigeria, don't you think? Nigeria is supposed to be, yes, this wonderful, beautiful country. Everything's happening there, in the 21st century. I always say nobody can tell the story of a place or a people except the main actors. We are the Nigerians. I've heard so many people talk about that issue. I've listened to radio, television, online, people in America, Canada, people here. They cannot know about our issues in Nigeria as much as we do.
But I do know it.
Sometimes there's a reason why you know, but even you cannot even know what we know. There's some things that there's no way, if you're not, it's just like I cannot know everything about Zimbabwe because I'm not a Zimbabwean.
Yeah. So I think the story is underreported. There's so much, but I suspect there's so much happening. The corruption, it can be oppression, whatever. What do you think can make a breakthrough in all this?
I say charity begins at home. It starts with the individual. We should stop shouting government. Charity begins with each individual. What is each individual doing?
Like I
When
say,
we do that, there will be a collective effort.
like I say, every man who is the head of his household is a potential president. So let's stop.
Mojari and I were having a particular talk with herself and her husband about a week ago when we were going out somewhere, and that's what I said. I said we'd have had a certain person as our president or head of state in Nigeria. The world acclaims him as, the elder statesman, whatever. And I keep telling them, this person could not even run his home.
And if you can't run
In
your
fact,
home,
when he was president, he didn't have when he was head of state, he didn't have a wife in the presidential villa. He didn't have a wife there. So those are the things, charity beginning at home. If you can look after your nuclear family, most likely you can look after a small enterprise, a community,
beyond
a
that,
government, a state, and then most likely, a country.
Now let's talk about your future and also the messages that you want to give to young journalists out there. What is the future like for both of you? After this hard work, and I must congratulate both of you. It's not easy to be on television every day. People scrutinize your shirt, they scrutinize your teeth, they scrutinize your nose, they scrutinize your hair. And every day you have to make it to suit what they want to see. So what are your future aspirations after all the praises, the abuses, after all but most important, after all the amazing achievements that we hope to read from your books? Because I think after all this hard work, we must leave books for people who are messing up media to know, because the knowledge in Africa, journalism, comes from the two of you. Who else will teach journalism other than you? So quick, 1 minute.
I'll let my brother go first.
well, when it comes to, initially, I had problems with that's in. But over time, I developed a thick skin. I go to what you call bookers in Nigeria, the local joints. I have my, and broadcasters have to learn to not have
Be normal.
Yeah, be normal. You're human beings.
No drama queens or drama kings. We're human beings. We're just like every other person, And I think it's also to do with our generation again.
Yes.
It's to do with our generation.
Definitely.
It's a different crop of generation. We were taught that even though we were proud of who we were and what we had achieved, we were not arrogant.
No haughtiness.
No haughtiness. We were not arrogant. So we could still deal with anybody, we could go down the road and eat fish and chips with somebody, and we could still go to the 5-star hotel in Rochester and dine with the Queen. If necessary, so we said it together. If so be it. So basically, for me, the future is bright. I always say, never say never. The future is very bright. Until one closes one's eyes for the last time.
Yes.
You keep thinking of improvement, getting better, leaving legacies, and hopefully the younger generation would learn.
Because they have at least in our part of the world, they have a bad attitude.
They would learn. The first thing is humility.
Yes.
Once they can have humility, the rest falls into place. Because then if you're humble, you're teachable. You have a teachable spirit. So you'll easily embrace, counsel, wise counsel. If we may say so, that's how we learned. Up to today, we still have some of our bosses that we meet them, and I'm still like that to them. Like Chief Julie Coker, forever I'm like that, because she held me by the hand as a young 17-year-old walking into this world of adults, So that is it for us. And also regarding our children that have been abducted, well, we hope they come home. We pray that something strike the chord in the heart of the Boko Haram people, that how would they feel if it was them? I'm not even going to say if it was their own daughter, if it was them at that age, and somebody took them away from their dad, from their mom, from the world that they know,
I'm just worried.
Every child, every child has the right to be protected, not abducted, not violated.
I'm just scared about because if we're in a different part of the world, they will go through psychological
trauma,
and then they need treatment,
counseling
for the rest of their lives. Maybe
we don't have that in Africa.
That is sad.
But also, I'm hoping that
let them come home first.
Yes, and I'm hoping that our traditional people, our traditional rulers, would take a stand. The kings, the queens, the princes, the princesses. They are the ones that are closest to the people. The government is not close to the people. They just need you when they want their votes. After they get the votes, that's it. You will not see them again for the next 4 years. But the palace doors, our palace doors are always open.
24/7.
In fact, a palace is a place of abode. If you're running away or if you need any sort of protection, you run into the palace. So we're hoping that will be the new song we'll be singing. And I am challenging our elders. I'm challenging our monarchs. Don't throw away your legacies. My grandfather was a king. I know who I am. I'm not going to joke with who I am. He's from an elite family. He knows who he is. He's not going to joke with that. Because our children, as I always say, lest we forget, lest our children never know.
Let them remember, it's God though. I knew you crack up.
Okay, on that note, thank you.